Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to another week. It's gonna be another upload of my online journal, as it were. Maybe not. In 2021, I had hit the heights of my alcoholism. Some would say the peak, the apex. I was in that place whereby I had reached. I was at the top of the summit, and there's only one place to go from here. Once you reach the top of Mount Everest, there's nowhere else to go. You can only go back down. You can only go back down. And in 2020, down was coming up towards me. An experience forced me to give up on alcohol. I was never much of a drinker growing up. In fact, I didn't start drinking until I was 19. That's actually a late bloomer in my country, in Kenya. People start drinking in their early teens, not maybe I would say 15, 16, that's the norm. I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to be like everyone else. I thought I was special. I thought I was meant for more than alcohol. And I had seen the impact it had had on some people in my family. Not my direct family, but I'd seen it around me to a degree about I would think that I don't want to be a part of this. But I started drinking at 19 the way. Came to Japan and I started drinking. And in the beginning, it was all fun and games. I loved myself being drunk. It seemed as though the world loved me back. There's that brilliant quote by Jordan Peterson that goes that when you're drunk, it's not so much that you care, you don't know the consequences of your actions, you just don't care about the consequences of your actions. You're fearless. You're carefree. It is liquid courage. And I didn't realize how for so long it had been my baseline for confidence, courage, like self-expression had been so low. So when I first got drunk, my baseline, at least the drunk Oscar was way, way up. And maybe even way up for Oscar was, way up for Oscar was quite something else, quite a sight to behold. He was an entertainer, a lover, not a fighter. He was quite a lot of what I would like to be without alcohol. Drunk Oscar was so much of what, even to this day, I wish to be to a degree. That level of carelessness, it's like to be so carefree, to be careless. To a degree, it makes life much easier, doesn't it? And so it was a journey up. I started drinking. I'm rising up the mountain. In 2020, I reached the peak. And now I'm forced to go back down. And I'm falling head first. And I don't know what to do. Until I met someone who I had met a few years prior. And when I mentioned my problem to him, he told me that he had recently joined Alcoholics Anonymous, that he also had a problem with alcohol. And with that time, when I met him for the second time in late 2020, he had been 2 months sober. I couldn't believe it. It's like, I didn't know he was a drinker, but what I couldn't believe was that it was possible to go 2 months without drinking alcohol. It seemed too far-fetched. I assure you that most of you who drink like normal people have not gone 2 months without drinking alcohol. Your friend offers you a drink, you're like, yeah, let me have one. There's a wedding, let me have a drink. There's a funeral, maybe after the wake, let me have a drink. Have you actually ever gone 2 months without drinking? As a normal drinker, someone who just drinks on the weekends or with friends, Now imagine someone who had made a habit of getting drunk every day. Hmm. So when I met this guy, he introduced me to Alcoholics Anonymous. I went for my first meeting, and just being in that room alone, feeling the energy in the room, it's like you're in this room. Some of them had been sober for up to 20 plus years, some 10 plus years, some a few months, some a few years. It's like, is this real? Are these are they lying to me? This can't be real. And so in that meeting, for the first time, while sober, I chose to be frank about my situation. And I opened up to these people in that room, these random people, about everything I had ever done while drunk, what made me start drinking, what brought me to that room. It's like those are some things are too shameful for me to even say here, especially here. Some things I wouldn't want to tell my parents, my brother, my wife, but I said it in that room. And I felt there was a sense of fear in me. But after the meeting ended, they came up to me. It's like, Oscar, great to meet you. Thank you for sharing. We really enjoyed your share. We hope to see you again. Keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back. That's what it's like, wow. And they're all so happy, and they seem so excited to have me there. And that was enough to propel me to, at least I went 3 months sober before I relapsed. 3 months. But despite relapsing, it's like the relapse, it's not much of an issue. The relapse isn't much of an issue. What is more surprising for me, at least there was back then, was the fact that I was able to maintain 3 months of sobriety. Now, to the person who's watching, who's maybe suffering from any addiction, it could be alcohol, drugs, pornography, whatever it is. If you're suffering from any addiction, Alcoholics Anonymous works because of one thing and one thing only. At least, if you ask me, Alcoholics Anonymous works because you have a band of brothers and sisters who are rooting for you. And they're rooting for you because they have been exactly where you are. And they're like, hey, I did it. I am doing it. So I'm sure you can do it too. And it's so simple. It's like no one tells the other, like, hey, you can be sober for 10 years. No, there is no such mantras. There is no such encouragement. The encouragement is just try and get to bed sober today. Just let's go one day. That's why people in AA keep counting the days. It's like for people who are outside of AA, it seems as though, why do you keep counting your days? You're giving so much power to this thing. But hey, we've taken back the power. They've taken back the power. I have. So when people are calling someone count the days, like it means that I have been able to hit the pillow sober for this number of days. So people in AA never say, I'll never relapse. They always say, I haven't relapsed yet. And I was always like, why do you say it? Like, it's like you're putting this thing that, it's like you're promising yourself that you're going to fail at some point. But what people in Alcoholics Anonymous also acknowledge is that sometimes some things are out of our hands. And that's why in AA, our chant, our mantra is the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. The courage to change the things I can. And the wisdom to know the difference. Accept the things I cannot change. That's the hardest part. Accept the things I cannot change. So many things in our life we think we have control over, but we don't. So they kind of have a stranglehold on us, because you're trying to fight something that you do not have the power to be fighting against. And whenever you reach a point whenever you reach your breaking point, instead of letting go and saying, I can't do this, this cannot be done, you reach out for whatever, your source of relaxation, your pleasure, your decadence, whatever helps you relax, you reach out for that thing. And for some people, it could be something as mild as spending 30 minutes on Instagram. It's like, it's not the best thing, but it's actually not the worst thing. For others, it could be overeating, which is really bad. For others, it could be alcohol, drugs, pornography, whatever it is, you reach for that thing. Instead of first accepting, hey, this thing I was fighting so hard against, I just need to accept it is what it is. Number 2, the courage to change the things I can. Now, some things you fight against, and you can't win that battle. And some battles need to be had day after day after day after day after day. And this is something I'm realizing now as I try to stop smoking cigarettes. It's like I mentioned in the last episode that I had a relapse. I'm going to call it a relapse because that's what it is. I went back to old habits. At some point, I failed to realize that this is a battle that I should be fighting every day. I thought I'm done. So I'm able to maintain this number of days, this number of weeks. Well, I'm good now. Obviously, I'm good, but no. This is a battle I need to be having every single day. And I need to accept that this is a battle that must be had every single day. And now, finally, the wisdom to know the difference. Sometimes we don't know the difference. I don't know the difference all the time. It's very hard to know the difference. Marriage is one of those things that it's a battle that needs to be had every day. And I'm not saying your spouse is your adversary. That's not what I mean. I mean that you have to fight against yourself to be someone worthy of being someone's spouse. And I don't know what, as a man, I believe you have to earn your right to be someone's spouse. I can see in my life it's so just, you're now husband and wife and now you can let everything go. It's like I have to work every single day and it's so hard to be working on this project every single day. Sometimes I want to give up. Sometimes some fights don't seem worth it, but they really are. They really are. So what is the point of this video? The point is, the only reason most people quit alcohol and Alcoholics Anonymous is because you have people around you, people who want to help you, people you can help. It's not so much about, as much as it is giving help, it is also, as much as about receiving help, it is also about giving help, right? Because every once in a while, most of the time, you're going to be the one calling someone for help. Like, hey, can I talk? I need someone to help me not have this drink. But every once in a while, someone's going to call you and say, hey, can I talk? Yeah, sure. What is it? I really feel like drinking. And I just need to talk to someone before I have a drink. And you just let them rant. Let them say what they're going to say. You don't have to tell them, hey, buddy, don't drink. Just let them say what they're going to say. Maybe it's something they need to get out of their chest that will make them stop not to have that drink, right? Because the reason we give into our addiction is because there's something we are holding on to that we need to let go of. And one day, you're going to be the reason someone didn't drink. I'm pretty sure in this life, most people that are alive today are addicted to something. It is quite unfortunate to say that. I do imagine that most young men between the ages of 13 and 25 are addicted to porn. I imagine that is the case. I have not looked at any numbers. I will not look at any numbers. I will just make an estimate, an educated guess based off of all the things I've heard on the streets, with my friends, with my relatives, all these things. I'm going to make an educated guess, which is human males from the ages of 13 to 25 are most likely addicted to pornography. Number 2, alcohol. Now, you might not call it an addiction because you only drink on weekends with your friends. You just drink so you can speak to the girl. But I'm going to call it an addiction because you feel like you need to do something that can't be done without it. And people will say, yeah, I'm not an addict. You don't need to call me an addict. No, I'm not an addict. Then stop doing it. Then stop. Just try and stop. Next, I think my addiction now, so I would say I have two addictions. Now it's cigarettes and social media. These are my two addictions. But I think I am in the minority when it comes to cigarette smoking. I think most people in the world do not smoke cigarettes. At least not like they used to. And so after I had my relapse last week, I started to think about ways of making it possible for me to not relapse again. And I kept coming back to the point of Alcoholics Anonymous, whereby you have other people. It's not just you, it's you and other people. And these other people want you to succeed. They want you to win. They want you to make it one day without using that substance. Now, a few weeks ago, I went for my first catechism class. So I was raised a Catholic, but as some of you know, I gave up on religion for several years, and now I'm back in. And I went for my first catechism class. And prior to going to this class, I was imagining I'm going to be the oldest man there, the oldest individual there, and I'm going to be surrounded by people who are in their teens, maybe pre-teens, who are taking their catechism classes, right? So I go to this meeting feeling very anxious, even some level of shame, just shameful that I might be the oldest person in the room, right? And I walk into this room, and there's no one around but old Filipino women. And they're in their 60s. Some was in their 70s. And I started to ask myself, where are these women here? They must have done their catechism already. I see them taking the sacrament. I've seen them in church taking the sacrament. Why are they in this room? So the person who's giving us the catechism classes isn't a catechist, it's actually the priest, the father himself. And before we begin, he asked us to all give a brief self-introduction. So they go around the room, people introducing themselves, and he says that this catechism class isn't a normal catechism class. It's more about sharing our experiences with Christ, with the Gospels, with religion, how it has impacted our lives. And of course, we'll have those regular catechism lessons, but that is not the point of this class. And I realized at that point, all of these Filipino women in their 60s and 70s, they're here because this place, this room, this class, this is a community. All their kids, they're in their 20s, in their 30s, they're in university or they have jobs. They're Filipino women in Japan, so they don't have their extended family to interact with. Japan doesn't have that strong, neighborly bonds that I assume exist in the Philippines, that I know exist in Kenya. So in Japan, you live in your apartment. I don't even know my neighbor's name, right? And imagine being a 60-year-old foreign lady in Japan. You definitely don't know your neighbor's name. You don't know your neighbor's name. So they come to this women in their 60s and 70s, they come to this catechism class so that just they can interact with other people. This catechism class is their version of Alcoholics Anonymous. So what is the point I'm trying to make? The point I'm trying to make is that there are no individuals. There are just lonely people. There are no individuals, just lonely people. And the lonelier you get, the more you feel separated from them, the more you will depend on whatever it is to make you feel at ease, You will need something to feel that home that a community will have been able to feel to a degree. The rest, as I'm concerned, which we will discuss in AA, is a higher power. It's God, it's Christ. But first of all, like as a human being, level one, you need a community. You need people who want to stand by you, people who you want to stand by, people who are willing to listen to you when there are things going on in your life that you don't know how to deal with. And because sometimes they don't have most of the times those people don't have the answer, but just by them listening to you, you will be able to find the answer. We need community to save us from these substances. Why does social media work so well? Because everyone is lonely. If I was with my friends right now, I wouldn't be recording this video. If I moved to Kyushu, Japan, and I had friends as neighbors, I wouldn't be leaving home in the middle of the night to go drinking. Maybe, I assume so. I would like to believe so. If you're living in a single room all by yourself, anything that makes you forget that you're alone is good enough. To close this off, I'm going to say that I decided to create a Discord server. I'm going to post the link in the descriptions. A place whereby anyone suffering from any addiction can just come and share. Just type your message. Be honest. You can even use a fake name. It doesn't matter. Just come and say what's going on in your life, and there's going to be someone there who's going to listen and not judge, because that person has been where you are. It might not be the same substance or the same experience that you are addicted to, but we all know what an addiction feels like. And sometimes you need to hear someone else's point of view so you can understand, man, I'm actually going through that, but I was just lying to myself. So my Discord server is called This is a Community. This is a community. And I hope to build a place where people can just honestly share what's going on in their lives. And now, of course, it's all chat right now. It's all chat. There's nothing more than the chat. But as it grows, which I hope it does, I'm going to add regular calls, video chats, if possible, and maybe even do something on Zoom eventually. Maybe something once a week where we can just like open the floor and let people share what's going on in their lives. Let's have a community. I know it's much better to meet these people face to face and talk to them and ask them what's going on. Like, hey, how are you doing, buddy? But if we don't have that, we might as well use the next best thing. An online community helps sometimes. I know many people who don't go to in-person AA meetings, they go to Zoom meetings. And that has been able to keep them sober for years. I want us to be free of these things. And hopefully you can help me. And I would love to help you. Thank you very much.